Hi guys, welcome to Learning Electronics Repair, and we have a review today. So this is from AliExpress, and this video is going to contain a lot of hot air because this is a preheating station. Just because it's hot air doesn't mean I should be babbling on about it though. Yeah, little joke, but let's continue. So we'll get this thing put together, we'll have a look, see how much this costs, and then we'll see, is it any good? So we have some safety instructions, okay, we have the operating instructions. This preheater comes in 3 versions. So 853A is this one, which is the preheater. Then we have the AA, which has the hot air, okay. And we have the AAA, which has the hot air and the soldering iron as well. I actually got this version, the preheater, but this was available with a stand that looks like that. And hopefully that's what I have in the box. And the idea is you can use this with your existing hot air station if you wish. While I'm just assembling that, we can have a look. So this is the version I had with the stand. You can get it without the stand, but the difference is negligible. There's a 110 volt version, 82199, 8269 for the EU version or UK. I mean, you can just put the adapter on for a UK plug with free shipping. And of course, we have the AliExpress coupons, so you can use a coupon and save some money on that as well. If you have a look in the video description, you'll find the link to the station and of course the coupon codes. And while we've been looking at that, this has magically assembled itself. Look. The magic of television. Okay, so this is the preheater. We have a button, set temperature and actual temperature. So this should allow you to set the temperature whatever you want, and then you can read the actual temperature on, off, digital display. That's about it really. This is made of some sort of die cast metal. It's not plastic. These are like a plastic at the end, but I think they're a high temperature type, almost like a Bakelite type plastic. Now on the picture, this was designed to use with the cheap hot air station like this one, the 858D. Okay, so yeah, that will fit into there. Tighten the little grub screws just to center it. Okay, yeah, fits in all right. So we can actually try with this, but I'm also interested to see if this will work with my quick 861DW, which is a more powerful hot air station, and what difference that actually makes. But the first question, of course, is does the 861DW actually fit into this? And in fact, it does. In fact, it fits very nicely into there. So we can use this both with the cheap hot air, we can use it with the quick, the more premium hot air station. Yeah, we can just adjust the position a little bit with these. Okay, so let's try it with both. But before we even try the hot air, I want to see how well this works as a hot air station. So my existing Carder 853B, this one, we know this can generally get the board up, depending on the board of course, about 120 or so degrees, and then I use the hot air manually with it to desolder. Let's see how well this preheater works in its own right first. We'll start with one of the T-Con boards. These are quite small boards. I think I'll, yeah. We have the heating elements here. I'm just wondering the best place to actually fit this to get it across that. We could obviously go this way or this way. So in this case, the board is smaller than the preheater. Obviously, we have to hold it with something, so we'll put it on there like that. I'm not sure how comfortable that is going to be to use. We'll just move this out of the way because we're going to measure the temperature of the board itself. And we can see the temperature meter, so switch on. I'll just turn this down. I'm not sure how comfortable this will be to use because this is smaller than the preheater, but let's have a look. So power on, try and get this attached. What I often do with these is kind of like wrap them around one of these. It helps to keep them in position. Okay, right, so 31 degrees. This says it's set to 50. Yeah, so we can control the temperature with this. Let's go for something like, I don't know, 129. It's very delicate. This is feels like a rotary encoder. No, it's a potentiometer. Okay, it goes up to 400. A little tricky to set exactly, but yeah, I got it that time. 120. And then we push the button in, actual temperature. And it's now warming. We can see the board is warming a little bit. Yeah. So there obviously is a lag because the board is mounted some way away from the preheater itself. Let's leave that on a while and see if it gets up to temperature. Okay, after about a minute, I see that this is at 120. This seems to have settled now, the temperature of the board. Obviously, some heat will be conducted away by the brackets and everything else. So the temperature of the actual heating element and the board are obviously different because they're not touching each other. So I'm going to turn this up to, let's say, press the button, obviously 200. Okay, the board is warming slowly, but that's actually what you want. You want to warm the board up, the entire board up slowly. This is much better for the board itself. You can see now this is 201. It seems very stable once it reaches a certain temperature. The board is still warming up, obviously. And now we seem to have reached the stage where the board is at a constant temperature. Now it's up a little bit more. Yeah, and it's just gone down one. So that's stabilized. I wouldn't say this thing tends to overheat the board, and it seems to be quite well controlling the temperature. Obviously there's a thermal mass involved. So let's go up again. On my Carder 853B, I have to set it up to maximum basically to get the board to about 120, which is what I would probably aim for. A bit more would be nice if we can do it. Once again, we see this is up to temperature and this is climbing. And it will settle at some point, no doubt. So again, it seems to have stabilized around 83 degrees. I'm going to set this to maximum. I'm expecting this will probably get the board up to about 120, which is what I see on the other hot air preheater I have. I would say the hot air preheater is faster, but that's not necessarily the best thing, okay? Because this is allowing the heat to soak evenly through the board. Okay, so it's settled again, 105 or thereabouts. This is pretty similar to what I see then with the hot air one, a little bit lower probably. This board, bear in mind, this is a T-con board, so this has very, very heavy copper planes in it. Okay, let's see if we can use the hot air to desolder something on here now. Obviously, we could use this handheld and then tweezers with the other hand, but let's try the actual mounting bracket, the little stand. Okay, let's see how this works. So we don't have much adjustment of the position of this. Obviously we can adjust the position of the PCB. I should have done this originally, I'm sure you're going to say, so I should have actually positioned this with the component I want to desolder under the hot air. And bear in mind I'm actually moving this a little bit further away from the preheater area now. So this point is basically at the center of it. Okay, let's try. We can adjust the height of this. I can obviously adjust the nozzle, so that's actually quite a small nozzle. So let's go for this chip because it's about the right size for that nozzle. I'll drop this a little bit closer actually. There's a little metal ring which kind of stops it falling all the way down. Okay, so that's about, I don't know, 3 centimeters from the chip. Let's get some flux. Okay, tweezers. I'm sorry I can't get a very good shot on the camera for this, guys. Obviously I can't use my overhead camera, so this is the webcam. Right, so put the heater on. I can see it bubbling away. Oh, very easy. Yeah, very, very easy that. Okay, so I've put this board on. It has a larger chip actually here, so it's been on the preheater for a little while, you can see. Just get a contact on it, but it's about 100 degrees. Some places reads a little bit over that. So we're going to use the other hot air station. I've set a different camera up, so hopefully you'll be able to actually see this one a bit more in focus. Okay, so we add some flux around the chip, and then we switch the hot air on and we see how easy this is to unsolder. Now, I've not done this particular technique before, so you know, practice makes perfect, and this almost certainly won't be perfect, but let's try. Let's see if we can unsolder this and how easy it is to do. I have 2 hands free, it's just knowing what to do with them in this situation, basically. Okay, so we'll just try and get a hold of this chip. Like, desoldered very easily, you can see that, and I managed to pick it up. Okay, but I guess the big question you want answered, is will this unsolder BGAs? Now, this is not a BGA Rework station, but let's see what we can do. So we have some RAM chips here. We have this big chip. I have the board, you can see on the thing here, about 90 degrees, varies a little bit depending on where I put the thermocouple, but it's certainly warm. Let's try first, we'll move this out of the way, and I'm going to try with the El Cheapo hot air station to see whether I can at least unsolder these RAM chips, okay? Now, you'll notice that this board will not fit onto this preheater, so it's too big. I've managed to sort of put it on the top there, but it's not mounted in any way. I probably need some sort of like, I'd have to find something I can get kind of under the bar and under there and clamp it to hold it still. That would help a lot. So this might actually wander around a bit when I try this, but let's give it a go. I'm just interested to see if we can actually desolder these with this very basic hot air station. I mean, you would not do this normally, certainly without the preheater you would not do this. So let's have a look. I'm not too worried about the thing sliding around. I have it at the wrong angle really for the tweezers. It's whether or not this can actually desolder it. So let's try. Nothing yet. Oh yeah, very easily. We'll have a look under the microscope a little bit later to see how that looks. Let's see if the El Cheapo hot air can actually desolder the BGA. Now, I have a fairly small nozzle on that, so it's not going to help. In fact, I think probably if I actually take the nozzle off, it would be better. Let's see if we can just do that. Okay, so I'll just switch to the other camera. There we go. You can see that clearly. I'm really not sure how well this will work, if it will actually work at all. But let's see. And if it doesn't work, we can try with the quick hot air. So I have the cheapo hot air on maximum, directly above the chip. The preheater is on the maximum setting. I've already put flux underneath this, and I can add some more around it, but there's already flux underneath it. And I can assist that by tilting the board actually, so while the board is warm, just literally tilt it, run the flux under. Oh, look at that, guys. Yeah, cheaper watt air station. Here's the RAM chip. Okay, so that came off quite nicely. Let's have a look. Yeah, no ripped off pads. Obviously the balls will be different sizes. When you've desoldered them, you need to clean them up and rebuild these. Although you can possibly get away with reapplying them if you just put a soldering iron over here and even up the size. Okay, I'll leave that to you guys. This is the BGA. It's not the biggest BGA in the world, but it's not delaminated or anything on the substrate. Again, no ripped off pads, ready to clean up and rebuild. Okay, and the PCB. So this is where we desoldered the RAM chip. Again, cleanly done. And this is the BGA. Okay, it's not burnt. At first I thought it was delaminated slightly, but I think that's actually where the heavy power pads are. Yeah, that's why they look slightly raised. You can see all the tracks on the PCB. All the pads are intact. So again, that did a pretty good job of that. Okay, to sum up, I will say, by the way, this thing gets pretty warm. It's still pretty warm. Obviously, it's generating a lot of heat. I was always told, or read on forums, that you can't do BGA work with this sort of machine. Yeah, you need a proper BGA rework station. I have a very large one behind me. And yet, this did the job. I mean, that was an old laptop board. Some boards will be heavier than that. But what most impressed me, and likely impressed you as well, is even with like just about the cheapest hot air gun you could imagine, and this, I actually removed that BGA. It was a big one. And it did it well. I just took the nozzle off here, so I actually literally just took the nozzle off. You can get bigger nozzles for these. I would have expected this to be able to do the job with a preheater, okay, because I know this works pretty well with my hot air preheater. Again, I can take the nozzle off and I can actually get wider nozzles for this, which actually now I think I'll look into getting one. You can get kind of like square nozzles that fits on this, okay, or several of them. So I wouldn't have been surprised to see that that plus this can do this, okay. What I was very, very surprised to find is that that could do it. Yeah. Once again, something has impressed me for the price versus what I was able to do with it. Okay, there's going to be some learning curve with this. There's going to be some practice, and you're going to break some things, especially if you've never done BGA rework before. You're limited to the size of board you can fit on here, at least between the clamps. So what I actually did is I removed one of these and then kind of like rested it on like so. While we're here, by the way, I'll just mention, so the rear of the board where we were doing that rework, we never lost any components. We didn't burn anything as far as I can tell. But back to my point, you could position this to get the area you want over the hot plate. You'll not warm the entire board, but you are warming a large enough area, I would say, to do most sort of work. And I need some sort of clamp, kind of like a bigger tweezers thing or something that would kind of like go into here and have some sort of tightening thing. A couple of those, so I can just actually literally hold the board down while I'm working on it, stop it from moving. But I think I could probably find something at the hardware store to do that. So, a usable BGA workstation for the masses, yeah, for the casual person and the person who doesn't have very much money. Can you get better? Of course you can. You can pay more. Yeah, you can get better. But you know what? For what that costs, even if you're using it with this, I have to give that the big thumbs up. Okay guys, I'd be very interested to hear what you say down there. Were you surprised like I was? Let us all know. Do you have one of these? Let us know. And would you now consider buying one of these? Certainly let us know. Remember, the link is in the video description, and also use the AliExpress coupon codes to save more money. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you all soon again on Learn Electronics Repair. Ciao for now, guys.